Hello everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to Datatorrent webinar and thank you for taking the time out and joining us at this webinar. I'm sure everyone here are big data enthusiasts and are interested in learning the streaming technologies out there. In this session, I will talk about how you can run Apex application on AWS. So let me introduce myself. I'm Shubham and I work as a software developer at Datatorrent at the Pune office. I will start with the presentation and follow it up with a demo. At the end of the session, we will have a Q&A session, and I encourage you to ask as many as questions you may like, and I'll do my best to address them. Also, during the presentation, I will take some logical breaks to, answer questions if there are any. So please feel free to type in the questions. All right. So the agenda for today is I'll start talking about what is stream processing, followed by what is Apache Apex. Then I'll give you an introduction to what we mean by Datatorrent App Templates, and after that we'll see uh, what we term as AWS Cloud Integration, which is basically a feature that we are providing, wherein you can install, uh, you can download some scripts from our website, and for you to quickly be able to spin up an AWS EMR cluster and run Apex applications. And after the presentation, I will give you a demo of how to use that feature so that it will be very easy for you to get started. Okay. So stream processing. So we know that nowadays we have data, from variety of sources, be it IoT or Kafka or social media, and what we have really is unbounded data. And what we mean by unbounded data is that a continuous stream of data. Uh, it, it could be structured, unstructured, and obviously there is no end to it. And processing that sort of a data, we call it as a stream processing, which is unlike a batch wherein the data is bounded. But over here, stream is not a batch. It is a continuous stream of data which is flowing. And we want to be able to process all the data in memory. And with, of course, there are like temporal boundaries to it. So we process the data with some windows, but it is not necessarily a batch processing. And with Apex, to process the data, you can run some stateful operations to it. And obviously, we want a platform wherein we can process the data, we can apply some rules, do some aggregation, do some analytics, and we also want the results in real time. So with Apache Apex, you can do that, and you can store the results in different sources, maybe Kafka or database. So this diagram over here shows basically what typically is a data processing pipeline. So we have some logs coming from web server. Typically, we push them to Kafka. And after that, you can see these three boxes, which are essentially, basically, we call them as operators when we write an Apex applications. So these three boxes, they represent operators or logical building blocks that you can write, and this is how we process the data, and towards the end we see that we are pushing the data back to Kafka. And so obviously in the picture I've shown Kafka, but you can replace it with a file system or a database, whatever your choice of source or sink is. So Apache Apex is a stream processing platform and a distributed stream processing platform, and all the data is processed in memory. To write the applications, we provide a simple programming model, and you can add your own custom logic to it. Uh, Applications are scalable. You can run your applications with high throughput of data and with low latency. And all these features are inbuilt of the platform. So from a developer point of view, you don't need to actually think about things such as recovery. What happens if, since it's a distributed model, obviously recovery and it has to be fault tolerant. So all these features are embedded into the platform. So your as an application developer, your focus is just to write the business logic. Uh, and Apache Apex is a streaming platform which runs on Hadoop, and that's why it uses Hadoop for basically checkpointing, recovery, and all those features. We also have a library called as Malhar. It's an open source library wherein you will find all the commonly used needed connectors, which will help you to quickly build up your applications. For example, you will find Kafka input operator or HDFS input operator, which are fault tolerant, and you can easily just you add them into your application. And at Datatorrent, we also provide you with a console uh, wherein you can monitor your application, and obviously we provide you with certain features to help you debug your application and easily deploy and monitor the application. So on a broader, this slide is will just give you a broader perspective of where Apache Apex exactly fits in the big data world. On the left, you can see a variety of data sources. As we spoke about unbounded data, you have streams and data coming from web servers and sensor data, and typically all these data are moved either onto S3 or Kafka, or you can or queues such as RabbitMQ, or maybe they would be in data residing in database, and obviously there is a need to process this data, and which is where Apache Apex comes in. So in Apache Apex, you write an applications, and each application is made up of operators. As in the slide, you can see there are these three circles written with operator 1, 2, and 3. So these are the building blocks, and each operator is deployed on a container in Yarn. So Apex is a streaming application, and it can consider it to be it is deployed on Yarn. So basically, each operator is deployed on a separate container, and so you at the start you have something called as input operator, which would read ingest the data from various sources, and you can add multiple such operators for your processing logic. And then towards the end, obviously you will have something called as output operator, which would help you to push the data in different sinks. You could push the data on HDFS or Kafka, or write it to a NoSQL DB. And obviously eventually you would use that data for visualization or analytics. So I'll just pause for a moment and see if there are any questions. So we have a question saying that I've seen Apache Kafka and Apache Apex described as streaming processing platforms. What's the difference? So basically, when we say a platform is a stream processing platform, typically what we refer to as a platform which can process streams. and by stream we mean unbounded data. So Kafka typically is used since it's a pub/sub mechanism, and typically in big data applications, Kafka is used as a to store the data, and there are different topics that can push the data. But Apache Apex is slightly once, and Apache Apex basically would use the data which is residing in Kafka, and then you can process it and then push it back to Kafka or some other platform. So that is the difference. The other common question that we generally get is what is the difference between Apache Apex or Spark Streaming or Flink? So basically all these three are meant for processing streaming data, but there is a very the main difference between Spark and Apex is the way how the data is processed. If you consider Spark, it is not really streaming, because what it internally does is it forms micro batches and it processes micro batches of data one at a time. And when you process micro batches, with each micro batch, you have this additional overhead of bookkeeping. Whereas Apache Apex, this you can consider to be purely streaming, because we process one data tuple at a time. We do not hold the data and then process batches. Each tuple is processed as it arrives. So when you in production, when you actually scale your application, Apex performs far better than Spark. Apache Apex is so I have a question saying that does it mean that Apache Apex is used only for processing? So Apache Apex is used for stream processing, but as well as batch processing. So it's you can, and also the, with Datatorrent RTS, you can actually use it for. We also provide some additional features such as visualization, wherein you can visualize the data through different charts, and basically do all sorts of processing and moving data from one source to another. You can even write a small application just to copy data from one source to another, in a streaming fashion. Or obviously you can add some business logic to it as well. So there is a question about this slide that where exactly does Apache Apex fits in. So basically, as I mentioned earlier, Apache Apex runs on Hadoop. So you have a cluster which has Hadoop running. By Hadoop, I mean the Hadoop 2.0, which is Yarn plus HDFS. So Apex, you can actually think of it as a special. Uh, uh, it's basically a specialized Yarn application, wherein we use Yarn to basically to deploy the operators on containers, to use it as a to deploy the operators on the containers. So that is where that's why we have shown Hadoop over here. And obviously now Hadoop cluster can be, it could be any version. You can use Cloudera or Hortonworks, or even run Hadoop on the cloud, and you can install Apache Apex over there. I have a question saying, does Apache Apex use one specific language, or are there multiple language implementations? So right now, we we write our applications in Java, although work is going on to provide libraries, using Python, but that is a work in progress. But Java would give you far more flexibility in terms of coding or application logic. Uh, I'll take a last question and then we'll move ahead with the presentation. So the question is, does Apache Apex subscribe to Kafka topics, or do you ingest data into Hadoop first and then process in real time? So the answer to this is Apache Apex directly subscribes to Kafka topics. And that's the reason we say that it is real-time data processing. So there is no need to push the data to first Hadoop and then process. You can directly subscribe to any Kafka topic and process the data as it arrives in Kafka. All right. So let me tell you what we mean by Datatorrent App Templates. So in big data scenario, we see a lot of common usage patterns. Like typically data would be there in Kafka, and you would need to ingest it, do some processing, maybe apply filter to it, or transform a data in a particular way, and then push the results back to HDFS. Or another use case may be reading from a Kinesis stream, process, and then writing to S3. Or it could be just reading from one HD Hadoop cluster, processing and writing to other Hadoop cluster. So we have identified all these common frequent usage patterns, and what Datatorrent has done is come out with something called as app templates, which will help new users to quickly develop their own applications. These app templates are, the advantage is that they are certified, they are well tested, and it allows you to understand how the application is written, and also customize it in the way you want. There are a lot of tutorial videos and documentation for each app template, which you can see on the website datatorrent.com. And if you have a Hadoop cluster, you can install Datatorrent RTS and import these apps using App Hub. I will show you a demo as well. So the main reason of getting out these app templates was, making it easy for users to quickly start developing applications. AWS Cloud Integration. So what was happening is basically, as Apex runs on Hadoop, to write the application, the requirement was that you have your own Hadoop cluster, and then install, Datatorrent RTS, or basically Apache Apex onto it, and then you will be able to, even try out the apps. So it was a big kind of a learning curve. And to enable users to quickly try out the applications, what we have done is we have come up with a AWS Cloud Integration, wherein on our website you can, whichever app you want to try, you can just click on the download link, and we will give you an installer, and it would have some scripts in it which you can just execute on your machine. And what it does behind the scenes is that it will launch an Amazon EMR cluster, and then install Datatorrent RTS onto it, and then import that app on the Datatorrent. So it basically takes off the load of deploying your own cluster. So it's a very easy way to quickly try out your applications. Of course, the prerequisite is that you need to have your Amazon account, and on your host machine, say on your laptop, you would have to install AWS CLI and configure it. These you can see a link over here If you click on that link, you will be able, it will redirect you to our website, which will have the detailed instructions. Uh, and this is what I'm going to demo after this after this slide. At this point of time, I'll just check if there are any questions, and then once I'll take up a few questions and then start with the demo. Where can I download the presentation? This presentation would be shared as soon as I complete the webinar. This will be shared on the meetup page as well. Do you require Hadoop distribution to run Apex? Yes, Apex runs on Hadoop, so that is a requirement. What other cloud platforms can this be integrated? So basically, the only requirement is Hadoop. So if Hadoop is available, you can install Apex. So be it AWS or Azure, Microsoft Azure. So any cloud platforms which will give you a cluster with Hadoop, you can install Apache Apex over there. I have a question saying with Datatorrent, you don't do you is there a need to use Kinesis? Kinesis, as far as I know, is basically our streams of data, and it is very similar to Kafka. So Kinesis can be considered as a source of data for Apache Apex. So you have your data in Kinesis, and then you can have your first operator which reads from Kinesis and processes the data. So you can use Datatorrent with Kinesis. All right. So I've taken the few questions. Let's move on to the demo. All right. So first step is you need to visit our website datatorrent.com, and on the upper right you can see App Hub. So you can click on App Hub. So App Hub is basically a hub where you can get all these application templates. As you can see, we have the most commonly used application templates available for use. You have HDFS sync app, database to database, S3 to HDFS, uh, etc. Uh, and for each app there is a tutorial, there's a video tutorial, there is a list of instructions and a lot of documentation. So it's pretty self-explanatory. For today's webinar, let me just uh, install the Kinesis to S3 app on AWS. So what you need to press the download button of Kinesis to S3. So it will take you to this page, and okay, so I don't have Datatorrent RTS. So what are my options? So either I can download the binary and install on my Hadoop cluster, but hey, I don't have a Hadoop cluster, but I have an AWS account. So what I'll do is I'll just download some AWS installer scripts. So I don't need to set up my own Hadoop cluster. It will do it for me. So let's click here. it will ask you to just provide some details. So let me quickly fill in the details. So that's it. This after the registration, it will take you to this place wherein you can, the step one is to click and download the installer file, and obviously you would need a license to explore all the features. So we provide a free license to try out this. So I have already downloaded the license as well as the app on my laptop. So this is the artifact which will get downloaded when you click on our website, and the other file is the license file. So what I'll do is let's unzip the artifact. Oh, okay, so I've extracted the zip file. And what I have with me over here are these three files. I have one config file. The other file is DT app EMR deploy, and the third is DT app EMR terminate. So deploy is basically I just need to run the deploy script to get started. After I'm done with my testing the app or running the app, I can terminate the cluster using the other script, which is the terminate script. And config.properties file is something that you can actually continue to have the same defaults, or you can change. So let's see what the file is, what are the properties. So if you are, if you know, if you have used AWS account, you know that we need to create a security group. So the first property is, if you want to change the name of your security group, you can do that. Then when the script executes, what it does is it places a installing script on S3. So in a certain bucket. So, and obviously the bucket name has to be unique. So basically over here you can specify a bucket name. A bucket of that name would be created, and the script, the installing scripts would be moved to that. Then you need to specify the region. Then you need to you can specify where do you want to have your logs. EMR, as I mentioned earlier, this will spin up an EMR cluster, so you can give your cluster a name. And then you can specify how many core instance, which type of machines you want to use for this. So so I have specified over here, M1 large for my core and M1 medium for the master, and I've specified, just to have one core machine and one master machine. So these are the properties that you can change or keep them as is. So let's execute the script. So while the script is executing, let me just walk you over to what is happening behind the scenes. So it will fetch your IP address, because it has to create a security group and then add a rule so that you can access the cluster through your machine. Then it will create that S3 bucket and install some script over there, which it will use to install DTRTS. And that's it. Then it will launch an EMR cluster. So as we can see that over here, we got a message that that launched EMR cluster, and you get the cluster ID. It takes a little time to spin up a cluster, so till that time we'll have to wait. And once it is done, towards the end of the script, we will receive a link which you can click and then configure, then complete your Datatorrent installation. So Datatorrent would be installed, the gateway would be started, and as I said, you would need a license. So basically, when we click on that link, we will get a page wherein you have to upload the license. So let's wait till this comes up. Maybe I can answer some of your questions till that time. I have a question saying, how do you change the properties in the script? So as I showed you in config.properties file, you can just edit that file, save it, and the script will use those values. I have a question asking, are you transferring data from Kinesis to S3? Basically, this script will just install DTRTS and import the application app template, which basically has the code to transfer data from Kinesis to S3. So I will show you the application, and if time permits, maybe I will also launch the application, or at least provide you with a video tutorial so that you can view it later. So what data are you processing? So let me clarify, this script is not like processing any data. It is just it's a way to basically it will just create a cluster, install Hadoop, and have your app imported. Basically, this is done for you to quickly able to try out the applications. There is a question saying that I don't need pure streaming. For me, latency is fine. Is there any other reason why I would be using Apex other than Spark, which has way larger community SQL style language? Uh, so even if the latency is fine, but obviously when you develop your application, you have to scale them, and it has been proven that on whenever in production, Apex applications runs far more better than Apache Spark. Uh, the community, if you look at the community, even Apex has a large community, and it's a very active community wherein you can, if you subscribe to our groups, you will see there are a lot of feature discussions and going on. Of course, SQL style language is a different, but we have a feature coming which in which we have integrated with Calcite, and we are work so that you can have an SQL like language to run your Apex applications. Does Apache Apex process data faster than Solar? I'm sorry, I can't answer this because I haven't heard about Solar. But what I can tell you about Apache Apex is that we have uh, uh, customers deployed having it in production and processing the data under a millisecond latency. So I think it's pretty fast. Where and how we can configure application security stuff like KMS, key tabs, and principles. So uh, this basically is you can install DTRTS in a Kerberized cluster as well. So if you have a secured cluster, we do take care of that, and there is a provision to specify the key tabs. Uh, as far as today's webinar is concerned, this will actually spin up just an EMR cluster and install over there. So in today's demo, I won't be able to show you how to deploy to install on a Kerberized environment, but we have customers using who have installed DTRTS on a secured cluster. The Datatorrent Apex templates are available for Azure. So right now, templates are there. You can, if you have your cluster on Azure, you can definitely install RTS and download. But we don't have such installer scripts for Azure as of now. This is for AWS. But we are actually working on having such similar installers for Azure as well. Can you point us to a link that shows benchmarks between Spark and Apex? Right now uh, what I would recommend you to is basically just post this question on our users group so that someone will definitely reply, or even a Google search would. There are a lot of articles and papers published, and also on YouTube there are several videos which will or webinar recordings which has this comparison and even the numbers as well. So I have a question saying that we have data stored in Hadoop and we have Apex to process data, then why do we need AWS? So AWS over here is basically just a cloud setup. Uh, if you have your in-house cluster in Hadoop, obviously you won't need AWS. AWS is just a cloud environment to have your Hadoop cluster or try out applications. Is it just to avoid the headache of Hadoop cluster? Yes, exactly. So the intention of having these installer scripts is basically to able for you to quickly try out the applications. Because if you have an application to process some amount of data which is on Hadoop, you can, and you have an AWS cluster, you can quickly spin up an EMR and run your application and get done with it. So yeah, you are right. It is to avoid the Hadoop cluster installation. Yes, if you are going to store the data in S3, it will, yeah. So basically, obviously, if you have an account, it will charge, but it's very for you. I mean, this is just to ease your learning curve. That's the reason. Yes, I will share the link to try out the app template. Basically, after the webinar, we will publish these slides, and you have the link. Just for now, you can just go to datatorrent.com/apphub, and you will be able to see the app template page. All right. So getting back to the demo. Now, as we can see, I've received a message saying, please visit this URL to configure DTRTS. So let's click on that. So this URL is basically, as you can see, it is a public URL, and since we have added a security group, I'm able to access this. So what you can see right now is the Datatorrent RTS screen, and this has installed Datatorrent successfully on Hadoop, and in the background it is basically an EMR cluster that is being created. So let's configure Datatorrent RTS. It's pretty simple. You can click the continue button over here. It will by default show the absolute path of your Hadoop executable. So you don't need to change these values. You can keep them as is. Click continue. Uh, Now we need to add the license. So I had downloaded the license before from the website. I'll just upload it and click on continue. The license that has been uploaded is free. You can read about it on the website, and it is free, and you can uh, basically use all the features. Uh, but the cluster size should be 128 GB, not more than 128 GB. You can find all those details on our website datatorrent.com. All right, now this is just a message saying Datatorrent is complete, and that's it. And now since we had downloaded the Kinesis 2S3 app, by default it has been imported, and over here you can see the app template for Kinesis 2S3 app. Uh, so let me just quickly also talk about App Hub. So if you already have Datatorrent RTS installed on your cluster, you can click this button over here, App Hub, and from here also you can import uh, different app templates, uh, to try out. And there are a lot of sample applications also, like PyDemo or Twitter demo. So you can easily try out all these applications. So once you have your application over here, you can click on the launch button and then specify all these properties. Now this application is called Kinesis 2S3, wherein you can move the data, copy the data from your Kinesis streams to S3 files. And for that, you will have to specify an S3 output bucket name, your access keys, your endpoint for Kinesis. You need to provide your and also the stream name for Kinesis input, and that's it. And then you will be able to launch the application. I could have surely continued with showing you the demo, but due to time constraints, I won't be able to give you the demo. But what I can do is uh, I can share. So I have created a video recording of the demo, uh, and I can provide the link for you to have a look, and it is in pretty much detailed, so it's fairly easy to understand. Uh, you can view the tutorial and try this out. Uh, Also, here are some of the links for the resources. I recommend to you to subscribe to our forums. There's an active community which will answer all your questions. You can join Datatorrent group or Apex group. You can visit datatorrent.com to download this, to try this out, and also feel free to contact us, send us questions, and there are these links for meetups, webinars, and videos. There are a lot of videos on YouTube to help you out with how to launch applications, how to configure them, how to modify them. So please do take a look. And that is all I have for today. We still have 5 minutes, so I can maybe take some of your questions if you have any regarding AWS, this installer script, or about Apache Apex in general. So I have a question saying, what about monitoring the process? What happens in case of failures? Uh, so basically, when you launch the applications, there is a monitor tab wherein you can monitor in real time what is happening, behind the scenes of your application, how much data is processed. And in case of failure, as I said, Apache Apex is fault tolerant. It will recover from failure automatically, be it node outage. So basically what happens is, since we are deploying it on Yarn, so if an operator fails, uh, it gets a message and then it redeploys the operator on some other container. And we do checkpoint, we do bookkeeping, so we exactly know where from where to recover. So, and as a developer, you don't have to worry about recovery. The platform will take care of that, and there won't be any data loss. With zero data loss, and you will have the effect of exact, you can, have the effect of exactly once, you can get exactly one semantics in your application. Any particular advantage over Spark? Yes, Spark actually processes in micro batch. It is not exactly stream. So as your data grows, as your application grows, there is a lot of bookkeeping which has to be done in Spark, and it is not that scalable. Wherein in Apache Apex is pure streaming, which processes one tuple at a time, and that's the reason it has an advantage over Spark. Does this demo show how to execute Java code? Well, this demo was actually for to show how to use those scripts to install DTRTS and import the app. As I mentioned, I will be sharing a link on the slide wherein you can easily see that, easily launch the application which has been imported. I have a question saying, how does dynamic scaling works and where? Uh, so yes, Apache Apex does have the feature of scaling dynamically. So if, and it could be throughput based or latency based. So you can basically configure that if a particular operator is receiving a data, more than a certain throughput, then it would automatically partition that operator and scale the application. I have a question saying, what are the major data governance issue? Well, actually, I did not really get this question. So if you could be more clear, then I can address it. Okay. Where and how we can configure data security stuff like encryption zones in HDP. Uh, I think that would actually be a part of your so as I said, Datatorrent RTS can be installed on secured cluster. So we have all those hooks over there. It is You can refer to our documentation. I don't have much idea about HDP, but we have installed Datatorrent RTS on secured Cloudera cluster, and I think it would be pretty similar to that. So yes, there are hooks to configure all the data security stuff as well. I have a question asking what is incremental recovery here. Uh, by incremental, so by recovery, what we mean is when you process data in a streaming way, after every 500 milliseconds, we serialize the state of the operator. So we write some key uh, things onto HDFS, so that if an operator crashes, we know that which data was not processed, and then we replay that data from that particular point, and that is how your applications is recovered. What do we mean by end-to-end exactly once? So end-to-end exactly once means that it is a semantic wherein we say that all your data is processed just exactly once. So to give you an example, let's say you have a stream of numbers coming and you want to count them and display the sum. So and suppose your application crashes in between. So obviously there would be a data replay, but it should not affect the total. And that is what I mean, that even though your application crashes in between or some operators fail, there would certainly a replay of data, but the effect the effect would be such that as if the data was processed or exactly once. So let's say you have this stream of data where you have 10 times 1, so ideally the total should be 10. And then suppose after 5 tuples your application crashes, so it will maybe and as I said that we maintain a state, so we would be maintaining some intermediate sum somewhere, and then the engine comes to know that what data has to be replayed, and so your sum at the end of your application would be still be 10. So the effect would be of that your data was processed exactly once. And that is really important in case of distributed platforms, that assurity that there is no data loss and all your data is processed. All right, we have a couple of minutes more. Maybe I can take some couple of questions and then conclude my session. Okay, one more thing regarding the demo. So we saw that how do we spin up the cluster. So now since we have uh, are done with the webinar, let's terminate the cluster as well. So that's it. This would basically terminate the cluster. Uh, all right. So we don't have any more questions. I think we can conclude today's session. I would like to thank you all for taking the time out and attending the webinar. Uh, Please do go through the resources, visit the website, and try out try out running these app templates, and feel free to reach out to us through our forums. Thank you all. Have a good evening.